Good morning, everybody. I know you can't see me. I'm going to turn my steering wheel just a second. So, I am 37 weeks today, exactly, and I am off to my pre-op appointment with the hospital. Oh my gosh, my kids keep leaving their scooters in the way of my car. This is not helpful. So while I'm on my way to my appointment, I thought I would do today's Daily to Baby about a question that I get asked over and over and over again, which is, why am I having a cesarean section? So this is going to be a bit of a story time. We're going to do a story time right now. So the story time is going back to 2017 when I was having my third baby, Micah. So he was going to be induced due to intrauterine growth restriction, or SGA, small for gestational age. So my placenta had given up and he was not growing. So they induced me, and that was at 37 weeks. So both my boys came at 37 weeks. So today, here I am, still not having a baby. I'm going to take that as a girl sign. And anyway, so I went into hospital and they put in a Cook's catheter with the Foley bulb. I don't know if those are two separate things, but basically they put a catheter through your cervix and inflate two balloons either side of your cervix, kind of puts pressure on your cervix and dilates it. So they wanted to dilate me to a 3, I believe, or a 4, and then they would break my waters and see what happens, or if they needed to add some drugs to the mix and things like that. But so at 9 p.m. they put it in and said that they would break my waters about 12 hours later, so about 9 o'clock the next morning. And my body was obviously just ready to go, because it just kind of, I was having cramping and tightening all night long. And then at about, I think it was about 2 a.m. or 1 a.m, the Cook's catheter Foley bulb thing fell out. I felt this enormous pressure, so I went to the bathroom and it just kind of fell out, and I'm left sitting on the toilet holding this very bloody mucousy covered bulb thing. And when you see how big these balloons are inflated, you're like, holy crap, that just came out of me. So clearly that's how dilated I am. So it obviously was covered in like mucus plug. It was just gross in general. So I called the nurse in and she goes, oh, okay, that wasn't meant to happen, but that's okay. So that's not meant to happen. So once that fell out, I was in active labour, and so Martin was called to the hospital. I think he got there about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just progressed and ended up being fully dilated by about, I'm going to say 5 o'clock in the morning or something. And it was a great labour. It was actually a really, really good labour. And I was ready to push. And so I was pushing. My body was pushing. Like, I didn't even get a chance to, like, stop pushing, because at one point they wanted me to stop pushing. But, so I was pushing. I was like, I'm ready to push. I'm pushing. I can't help it. And so the midwife was like, okay, let's just check to see that you're fully dilated. And I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. So before she did that, I was like, I need to go to the bathroom, because I felt this horrible, like, scratching type pain on my cervix, and I thought that was really weird. So there was this horrible scratching pain. I went to the toilet, I came back, and the pain, like, increased. It was really weird. So when, either just before I'd gone to the toilet or during going to the toilet, Micah had flipped from head down to breech position. So when the midwife went to check me, she like put her hand up there and was like, I don't think that's a head. So then the ultrasound machine came in, all while I'm like pushing, guys, like really needing to push, like really bad. And so the ultrasound machine confirmed that he had flipped to breech. And what she was feeling was actually his feet. So he was coming out footling breech. So you can deliver babies who are breech. And obviously the different types of breech are more serious than others. So footling breech is more serious than a bum coming out first breech. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that when it's footling breech, like the teeny tiny part of your baby is coming out first. So the feet coming out and the hips, and then you've got these shoulders and then this giant head that are going to try and come through your cervix, whereas when it's up the right way, the head and shoulders, the biggest parts, come through first and the rest just slithers out. So you run into some problems when it's a footling breech, because in a normal breech where the bum comes out first and the legs are crisscrossed and all that, it's still a bigger area than just, little feet. Anyway, long story short, they were like, they turned it into an emergency situation. So I'm trying not to push. They're telling me not to push. They're wheeling me in for an emergency cesarean. So we make it to the OR and they put a spinal or an epidural or whatever in my spine, and that urge to push was immediately gone. That's all I cared about. I don't even recall the labor pains at this point, because the urge to push was just so horrendously strong and awful that everything else didn't matter. So once they gave me that epidural or whatever they gave me, I felt so much better. And then obviously they performed the cesarean section. I got a normal line of a cesarean, so just above my pubic bone, just a normal horizontal line. And then they tried to get him out and he was stuck, so they couldn't get him out. So not on the outside, so not my muscle or my skin or anything, but the uterus itself, they had to cut up the other way vertically. So that's called an inverted T incision. And so with an inverted T incision, they don't like you to have a Vbac, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean, because oh wow, we had some rain, the river is high, because there is an extra weak point and scar tissue and all of that there. So when you go into labor, the labor pushes pressure down, and obviously that's down where your scar is and the extra weak point. So because of that, if I'd had a normal cesarean, I probably would be having a Vbac. But because it was an inverted T incision, there is a higher risk, not a really high risk, but there is a higher risk of uterine abruption, I think it is, or like an abruption, so which is a serious emergency. So obviously that's what I'm dealing with right now, is that I have this inverted T incision scar in my uterus, which is at risk of abruption if I go into labor. They told me if I go into labor before my cesarean not to panic, like, just get your bits and pieces ready and just come to the hospital. Don't wait, but don't panic. And of course right now I've lost some of my mucus plug. I've been having cramps, tightenings, and I'm like, oh my god, am I actually going to go into labor before my cesarean? Because I've never had any of this stuff before. I just have inductions at 37 weeks. I've never gone into labor spontaneously before. I've never had any of the Braxton Hicks or the mucus plug being lost or anything like that. So right now it makes me go, oh my gosh, is it going to happen? So yeah, that's the reason why I'm having an elective cesarean section. It's scar tissue and a weak point, so that if I were to have another baby, which obviously I am, they do not recommend a VBAC at all. No vaginal birth after cesarean. You can give birth and things may not go wrong, but there is a higher risk, and pretty much every medical professional that I've spoken to since being pregnant with this baby has strongly advised against a VBAC, and they said they strongly recommend a C-section because it's just too risky. If I were to go into labour and I were to have that abruption happen, it would be a serious medical emergency, and bad things could happen to me or baby, I guess. And I don't want that to happen. So we opted to go for the elective cesarean section because I've got kids at home. You know, this is my 4th baby. I'm not prepared to take those risks. Of course, there's risks in a normal cesarean too. So regardless, for me, it's just risky to be pregnant. You know, like it'd be risky for me to have a normal vaginal delivery. It'd be risky for me to have a normal cesarean. So there's risks everywhere, you know, but there's a lot less risk doing the elective C-section than the potential of things going wrong and then having an emergency C-section anyway, but potentially losing a baby, and it's not worth it. So in the short of it, basically, that's why I'm having a C-section, because I have an inverted T incision due to the fact that my last baby, Micah, got stuck when they were trying to get him out, and now I have a weak point in my uterus, which labour and contractions have the potential to rip open. I guess that sounds awful, but that's the long and short of it, I guess. If you have any further questions about that, excuse me, just put them in the comments box below, because I'm not sure if I missed anything in trying to do this without it being like a 20-minute long story. So yeah, I'm booked in for my C-section, and it is in 8 days because I'm 37 weeks today. Very exciting.